All right. Okay. So the title of this video is I'm gonna put this here. The title of this video is how is it that Jesus was able to give advice on marriage and yet he was never married? And this goes into the realm of of who is qualified to do what and how we determine qualification and how we determine credibility and how we determine how we know what we know. And I'm gonna approach this from the part of us human beings as not just being human beings but being divine human beings, which means we are not just human beings, we are not just physical 3D human beings, but we're also um, spiritual beings. We are more actually spiritual than physical beings. And what that means is that the larger part of us is spiritual. The larger part of us is unseen, is in the quantum realm, because our feelings are unseen. We can't see them. Our emotions are unseen. We can't see them. Um, our intuition, you can't really see your intuition. What else? We can't see our thoughts. We can't see our beliefs. Um, we can't see energy, our energy, like when you walk into the room, the energy with which you walk into the room, and everyone can feel it and sense it. It exists, and people can feel it, but it's not seen. And your aura also is also, which is also part of you, is unseen. So it's actually a very small part of us that is physical, which is our 3D physical body. That's it. But we've often forgotten that as human beings. Not that, well, yeah, we've forgotten it, and also we've kind of degraded that part of us. And um okay. The reason why I wanted to talk about this is because people think that knowing only exists, or you can only know something when you have a certificate, like, or maybe when you went to school. And school, yeah, our school system and our, the way we are taught, that we become knowledgeable, or the way we are taught, um, that we know things. School and our education system has contributed a large part of how we think we know what we know and how we measure knowing. School suggests that, or the education system suggests that as a human being, you start off not knowing, and you have to through a certain process of going to school. Let's say going to nursery school, primary school, high school, university, college, and then when you graduate with all of your certificates, that's when you know, and that's when you're qualified to teach. Okay, but if we think that the only people who know in this world are the people who went to school, then that's like, first of all, that's like maybe half of the population of the world that haven't gone to school, or that haven't gone to formal school, which I'm going to get into also. Then that means that those people, they don't know anything. They don't have anything to contribute. If we say that the only people that know are the people that have a certificate or have gone to the formal school system, then the people that never went to school, then that means that they don't know, they don't have anything to contribute because they don't know, which is very false. There are lots of people who are very, very intelligent and know things, and actually going to school makes them, it's going to make them dumber, because it's going to block part of their knowing and how they can create things, and how they can sense things and the things that they can contribute. And I'm going to give an example of Steve Jobs. But it's not just Steve Jobs. There are many other people in the world. But because of Steve Jobs is one of the current examples, that I kind of like. Steve Jobs was a school dropout. He dropped out in, I think it was high school, and he joined a class in calligraphy, and that became the basis of, like, the different fonts we have in our computers. And up until now, the fonts we have in our Macs, our different MacBooks and our, iMacs and all that. But he was a school dropout. He didn't go to school. And I'm 100% sure that if he had gone all the way to school, what he created, the most, one of the most beautiful and what's the word? It's not critical. One of the most, not important. It's more than important actually, because it touches all of it touches so many parts of our lives. One of the most crucial inventions that he created, which is the iPhone and the iMac. Not just him, but he was a pioneer in it. He created it, and he did not go to school. He did not finish school. He didn't have a certificate in like an engineering certificate or a PhD in what do you call it, electronics or engineering or whatever. He had a natural talent and a natural knowing, and he used this intuition a lot to know what he knew, and created this beautiful thing that we have, this iPhone that all of us have now, that we rely on for almost everything in our lives. So if you're only to measure knowing by someone who's gone to school or someone who has a certificate, then half of the people who are actually inventors, who are still inventors, they wouldn't be inventors. We're not going to value their contributions. That's one thing. The second thing is about formal education is like, okay, so formal education even is something that is like maybe just over 200 years old, and it's mainly pioneered in the West. So does that mean then all the other people who are not from the Western society, they're stupid, or they don't have any form of intelligence, or they don't have any form of knowing what they know, or is it that their knowing is not valid? These are all questions we have to ask. The reason why I mentioned Jesus is because Jesus had a lot of knowing. He had a lot of he used his divine connection to the creator, to the masters of the universe, to be able to sense things and to be able to know things. And that's how he knew how to say what he needed to say when he needed to say it. And he did not have to be in it. He knew things that without having to be in it. The whole point of this is a lady I knew that this question was going to come up, and I didn't really want to talk about it, because I didn't want to prove that I know what I know, because I know what I know. I know what I know, and I don't need to prove it to anybody. I don't need to prove it. I don't need to I don't need to it's mainly prove it. I know what I know, and when it comes to relationships, I'm very good. I'm damn good at giving relationship advice and knowing exactly what is the problem in a relationship between a man and a woman. I can sense it. All I have to do is just look at you guys, or for the woman or the man to tell me one sentence, and I can immediately latch onto what the issue is. I have a natural talent for that. And I don't need to be in a relationship. I don't need to be married to be able to give marriage advice. That's the thing. When I was married, I was stupid. When I was married, the things that I know now, I don't know a sliver of those things when I was married. I was married for 14 years. And the things that I know now, the advice that I give, and the questions that I can answer now, when women especially ask me questions, when women especially have an issue, or they want some advice. When I was married, there was no way I could have answered that, because when I was married, I had low self-esteem. I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't even know why I was married to the person I was married to. I just wanted to escape. I wanted to have my own, I wanted to have my own space. And yeah, I was married for 14 years, but during that whole time, I I was just I was kind of like I was existing in it. And yes, I have two lovely daughters from that marriage, and I would never look back and say that that's not something that should have happened, because of that marriage is where because of that marriage, it's part of the reason why I'm here today is because of that marriage. And also I have, like I said, I have two beautiful daughters from the marriage, and it all contributed to who I am today. But when I was married, I could not have given anybody marriage advice because I didn't have it. I didn't even know. I didn't know what the purpose, what kind of what kind of when I think back on on who I was then, I'm thinking like I didn't even know anything. I didn't know anything about marriage then. I didn't really know. I was married, yeah, I was in a marriage, but I couldn't have offered it. Someone, if a woman came to me and told me that I'm having this problem in my marriage, and please, can you give me some advice? I would have probably told her that, well, I don't really know what to tell you. You just have to figure it out yourself, because I didn't know anything about marriage or relationships in that way. So my whole point in saying this is that you don't have to be in something to know about it. You that is watching me right now, you certainly know certain things that you don't have to be, you're not in. And all of this goes to again, like I said, it all goes to the unfortunate way we have prioritized and made our physical 3D experience as human beings, as physical human beings, much more important than our divinity, than our spiritual essence. Because in our spiritual essence is where knowing lies. That's where intuition comes from. That's where a feeling, emotion, that's where you can sense something without knowing, without really knowing what it is. And that's where all these other things that you can't see are. But because we are physical 3D beings, we have prioritized and we've given eminence to things that we see. And we think that the only way a person is qualified to give advice on anything is they have to be in it because of what we can see, or they have to have a certificate. They have to have a paper, which is rubbish, because the people that are giving you the paper, they themselves, where are they getting the knowledge from? If we all take it back to the very beginning, if you say that the only way I can know this thing, whatever it is, like something about a subject, take it back to the very beginning. Where the person that gave you the certificate, where did he get it from? Where did he get that knowledge from? And that person, where did he get that knowing from? And where did he get, so if you take it all the way back, you'll find out that somewhere along the line, somebody knew what they knew about that subject, or they used their own life experience, which is still their own knowing, to write a book about it, or to write a paper about it, or what. I'm still talking about knowing. So, yeah, like I said, we've prioritized thinking that people can only know something when they are in it, and they cannot know it just because we've forgotten that as human beings, like I said, we are divine, and we have many of us are clear, what do you call it, clear cognizant. You know something, you know things about things without knowing how you know them, but you just know things about them, and you're good, damn good about them, or damn good at them. This way of thinking that a person can only know something if they have a certificate on it, or if they are in it. Like, the only way you can give marriage advice is because is you have to be married. It's the most silly thing that I've ever heard, because you can be married and still know nothing about marriage. You can be married and be in a toxic marriage, or be in an abusive marriage, and just be there like somebody who's just in a marriage, just like I was. Not to say that I was in an abusive marriage, but you don't know, you can't give advice, because you're not really fully functioning at your utmost capacity while you're there. You're not in your power while you're there. So to say that because the only person who can give marriage advice is the people who are married, that's rubbish. That's not true. You don't need to be married to be able to give advice. And I'm saying this to you, if you're watching me, because the people that are going to be drawn to me are going to be people that, yeah, you're going to be most likely going to be an outcast, and you're going to be a person that's going to be misunderstood. And the reason why you're going to be misunderstood, and you have been misunderstood since you were young, is because you knew certain things and you had a message since you were young, but you didn't know how you knew it, but you knew that you knew it, and the people around you can sense that you know things, and you were shut down very quickly because of that. And even as you grew up, when you started maybe expressing your message, people in your family maybe, or your community told you, how do you know this? Constantly questioning you, constantly doubting you, and constantly doubting you, constantly questioning you, and what that causes, and what that probably has caused, is it's caused you to second guess yourself all the time. You don't trust yourself because people have always doubted you. And again, yeah, it brings me back again to us as human beings denigrating this side of us that is divine, this side of us that is spiritual, that has the capacity and has the capability to know what we know without knowing how we know it, and without having to be in it, and without having to experience it. There are people who are right now talking about suicide, have a lot of knowledge about suicide, but have they ever died? No, they've never died, but they have a lot of knowledge about it, and their knowledge is damn good, and it's valid. And there are when we're talking about like other things like relationship coaches and stuff, there are so many relationship coaches that are not married. I have several relationship coaches that I used to listen to, and some of them I don't really listen to, but I know of them that are not married, but they have a very potent and very valid advice, and they're damn good at what they're doing. People like Alex, the toxic dating coach. He's not married. He's a young guy, but he gives advice to women. It's almost like he channels, how women think, and he knows exactly what advice to give them, and his advice is good, and it has changed so many women's lives. And they come on to his channel and tell him that your advice has changed my life. Is he a woman though? No, he's not a woman, but he's able to give a woman advice on relationships, and he's not even in a relationship. He's not married, but he's able to give advice on relationships. There's this other guy that I think he's married. This guy with the dreadlocks and the beard, that also is a great relationship coach, and a relationship coach for women, actually. But is he a woman? No, he's not a woman. But he knows how to give relationship advice to women. He knows how to channel what women are thinking. How is he able to do that? And he's a man. who else do I know that is a relationship coach? Um, Tony Gaskins, yeah, he's married. So I'm not gonna give him as an as as an example. But even Kevin Samuels, the late Kevin Samuels, who I didn't really listen to, but I knew of him. And he was mainly giving relationship advice to men. But sometimes he gives relationship advice to women too. And yes, he was very controversial, but was he a woman? No, he wasn't a woman, but he he was one of the guys that was like he's very controversial, and yeah, like I said, and he wrote on that. But my point is that he knew things. He knew to say certain things to women that he he just knew, not because he was a woman or anything. So that's my whole point about saying this, is that and I'm saying this if you for you that's listening to take on, if you whatever career you're in, or whatever, um if you have a message, or if there's something for you to do in this world, and you keep doubting yourself, because you think you're not qualified, because you don't have the paper, like maybe you don't have the certificate, or you think you cannot teach what you're teaching because you are not in it, blah, 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 blackety blah, you know, do not doubt your knowing. Do not denigrate it. Do not disrespect what you know. If you know something, you know it. Do not let the people of the world tell you that you don't know what you know, because they believe they've been programmed, and we all have been programmed like that, to a certain extent, especially if you've been to school. School programs you to think that the only people who are qualified to give advice or teach in any capacity have to have a certificate. They have to know. They have to have a certificate, and it's based on the premise of lack. It's based on the premise of lack consciousness, because it's based on the premise and the thinking that human beings come into this world um, without anything. We come into this world like empty. We don't have any intelligence, any form of knowing. And it's when we come into this world, into this 3D world, that we gain intelligence from institutions. And that is not true. As a human being, you come into this world with a massive amount of intelligence. You already have, intuition. You have your intuition. You have your knowing. You have your gifts. You're connected to divinity, so you have direct access to um, to information, and you don't need to go to school to have that kind of information and to have that kind of knowing. And you don't need to be in a thing to be able to teach on it. So do not let the people of the world tell you that you don't know what you know, because they are limited in the way they um, they um, they think a person, the only person who can know what they know is through, being in it, or having a piece of paper or whatever, you know. Um, and yeah, the title of the video is like, how is it that Jesus, um, what is the title again? How is it that Jesus uh, was qualified to give advice on marriage, yet he was never married? Yeah, well, we should answer that question and ask, how is it that Jesus knew how to do that? Was he ever married? No, he was never married. But during his lifetime, he did give advice on marriage and on relationships. How was he able to do that? As an ascended master, he was able to tap into divinity, his divine consciousness. He was able to tap into his own knowing and trust his own knowing and give advice from there. And that's just that's just how it is. That's just how it is with us human beings. We have that gift too. We have the ability to know what we know without it being qualified by the 3D world. And it's time we get into, it's time we allow ourselves to know what we know. It's time we understand how knowing happens. That it's not just the person who has the degree or the person that is like the professional that knows things, or it's not just the person that is in a certain what will I call it, in a certain thing. Like it's not just the married woman or the married man, or it's not just the what other thing would I what other institutions are there? Like it's not just the person who went to business school knows how to run a business. There are people who are naturally talented and naturally know exactly what to do, or have a natural knowing of how things are and how things should be, and can teach it because they just know. So yeah, this is what I wanted to talk about. Um, I don't know if there's anything else I want to say. Um, I think that's about it. And yeah, I expect this. I expect that the title of this topic would probably be controversial, but sometimes we need these kind of controversial topics to come back to ourselves and ask ourselves, how is it that this happened? How is it that this is a possibility? Because we are now in the new age. We have to get back to ourselves and understand that we have divine capabilities. We are not just physical human beings that are just like we are not just physical human beings that are divorced from divinity. We have access to um, infinite intelligence. We have access to intuition. We have the capability to know what we know without being to a place. Like there are people who know what's happening in other places and they've never been there. There are people who as soon as they get travel to a new country or go to a new place, it feels like they've been there already. It feels like they know that place and they can navigate that place like they've been there, they've lived there all their lives, but they've never been there in their physical as physical human beings. We have these capabilities available to us. And this mundane kind of questioning of people, uh, of asking people how they know what they know is is silly. It's silly because it's like you only see one way. You only are allowing yourself access to one way of thinking that's how knowing happens. And people like that have a hard time allowing themselves to know things. And I was one of those people too. And yeah, school does that. Like it activates your saboteur. It activates the part of you that is always questioning yourself. You're always second guessing yourself. You don't allow yourself to know what you know. It's never enough. It's never, you always have to go and look for, look for the next book, look for the next YouTube video, look for the next speaker who's speaking on something. You don't allow yourself to know what you know because you're disconnected from your divinity. And if you're a person like that, you're going to have a hard time seeing or recognizing that somebody else can know what they know without them being in it. And that state of being, it causes a person to just keep, it's like you're chasing your tail. You're always chasing your tail. You never allow yourself to know what you know and express it, because you never feel like you know enough. You never feel like what you know is, like, you can know something without someone validating it for you, or without you having to go through an institution, or without you physically experiencing it. It all comes back to, it all comes back to us, like, being disconnected from our divinity. And yeah, I think that's enough. I think that's all I wanted to say. I'm gonna if you have any thoughts on this video, feel free to share your thoughts. Yeah, that's it. I'll see you again sometime. All right, bye-bye.